Joining me for more on this conversation are nationally recognized advocate for criminal justice reform, Glenn Martin, and activist Oliver Mack, who is joining us from his car, who is also known as the right-wing angel. Thank you so much, Glenn. Thank you, Oliver, for joining us. Glenn, I'm going to start with you really quickly. What is wrong with the cash bail system?
Everything. Our cash bail system essentially undermines justice and fairness, disproportionately harms Black and poor people. I mean, it really is the monetization of misery. As an entrepreneur, I understand the importance of people being able to engage and make money in a capitalist society. At the same time, I know I draw the line where you're profiting off of the punishment of other people. And the history of cash bail proves that no one should be profiting off the punishment of others.
Oliver, what is your response to the fact that, Glenn is saying that our cash bail system is problematic all around?
I just don't believe that it's a problem that the Black community should be focused on. I mean, out of the list of all the issues that plague the Black community, I wouldn't even rank it within the top 40. If the Black community would focus more on keeping our people out of that system rather than focused on changing that system, I think we can make a lot more headway in terms of making sure that our people didn't end up having to experience that.
But Oliver, when you think about cases like, if you think of Khalif Browder in New York, spent 3 years on Rikers Island for allegedly stealing a backpack, couldn't afford a $3,000 bail, and he ended up spending 3 years in jail. Does that sound like justice to you? Does that sound like a cash bail system that actually works?
You can take situations like that and say, yes, maybe there should be some reform to the bail system in terms of petty crimes, but yet and still, we have to focus on the fact that it's an actual crime that's being committed. So we have a lot of situations, just like in New York, where we had a reform done to the bail system and it ended up costing people their lives. So we had an actual person who got on bail and actually stabbed a woman 40 times while he was out on bail. And then you also have situation that was in Wisconsin where the guy got on bail and ended up running over 60 people and killing 6. So you got to look at it through that lens as well.
You know, the most long-standing diversion program in America has been white skin and privilege. The fact of the matter is that the Constitution needs to apply to everyone. There are a lot of wealthy white people in this country accused, not convicted. You said convicted. These people are accused of a crime, and they're able to sit at home and fight their case. They have more access to their lawyers. They have more access to researchers that can help make the case. Folks are still innocent until proven guilty in this country, except Black and brown defendants are 10 to 25% more likely to be detained pre-trial and to receive financial conditions for their release. Young Black men in particular are 50% more likely to be detained pre-trial. The truth is, violent crime is up all across our country. We need to do something about it. But prisons have become the repository for people who failed out of all these other systems: housing, education, healthcare, mental health, poverty, you name it. People don't wind up in jail because they wake up in the morning and say, I want to go to jail. Many of them wind up there because we've criminalized all these things.
Yeah, but they do wind up going to jail because they're committing crimes. Like that's the number one factor that we have to take
allegedly, I'm surprised a conservative wouldn't hang his hat on the Constitution, allegedly.
We're talking about people that are accused and charged, not convicted, and there's a huge difference in what those words actually mean. But Oliver, some people would say there are criminals that deserve to not walk out of jail without any limitations. How do you respond to that?
Well, I mean, it depends on the crime. So if you do have a crime, a violent crime, where that person has a chance or an opportunity to go out and do something else, then that person should remain in jail. But I mean, we do have cases where, yes, you may think that this person, well, they're just accused, but when the evidence is mounting up against that person, and we do have history that shows that this person may go out and commit a crime again, then I think we also have to take that into consideration.
Well, you're talking about recidivism there. And what's interesting about this is that in your own state, you're in Texas right now, you're in Houston, your own state has sort of revamped its cash bail system to not keep people in jail that are actually low-level offenders. Glenn, I want to ask you, how does this actually impact law-abiding citizens, and what would be your approach to changing the system?
The punishment is in the process. The majority of these people that are sitting in jail on any given day, over 500,000, essentially, many of them will be found innocent in the end. Many of them, it will be found that the charges that are against them, the majority of them will be reduced, even if they are convicted of any of those charges. Many states have gotten rid of their cash bail or reduced cash bail for huge categories. And what they have found is the only thing they couldn't resolve in those situations is the racial disparity that continues to plague our criminal justice system. But they have found that people actually show up to court, and there's no evidence that show that people do not reoffend while they're waiting to go back to court.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning that in Washington, D.C., they got rid of their cash bail system. And even though they released 95% of low-level offenders, 90% of them still showed up to court to face the judge. So, Oliver, Glenn, thank you so much for joining us here on Revolt Black News Weekly. We look forward to having you again.